It's been about 2 months since I've updated, and I'm sorry it's taken so long. But the holidays and then COVID, and I'm just now starting to get my strength back. So here I am. Um, I can't even remember the last thing I talked about. Anyway, I wanted to let you know it's been, oh golly, August, September, October, November, December. It's been almost 5 months since I first realized I had DID, and it's been over 4 months since I was delivered from it. And I want to update on that. I had this horrible, horrible fear when I was delivered because I wanted to get my memory back before all my parts formed back into one main part, because there are such gaps in my memory of not only bad things but good things. But God saw different, and God's timing is always perfect. And it's really interesting that this time his timing was ahead of me, because usually it's the other way around. Usually I'm waiting and waiting. I'm like, God, hurry up. But after it happened, I was really anxious and concerned that things might trigger me to start splitting again. Never has happened, and I've had a couple incidents where it could have happened, and it doesn't. If I get bored, I still dissociate, but I think everybody does that, where I just kind of veg out for a little bit and then come back. But it's not like there's another part of a personality in there. There isn't. So, yay God. I could not have done it without him. And if it had not been for that relationship that nearly broke me, I wouldn't have realized I had DID, and then of course I would not have been healed of it. So, as much as that relationship hurt me, I will be eternally grateful for it. I still talk to him every now and then, and it's difficult because he's in love with somebody else, and I have nobody, and that's okay. I have kind of been out with a couple of people in the last few months. Number one was right before Thanksgiving, and it was just the most bizarre situation ever. We didn't even go on a date, but he invited me over, and he made soup and sandwiches, and that was fine. I appreciated that. Nobody ever cooked for me before, except my ex-husband. Anyway, it didn't work, and most recently, right before Christmas and Hanukkah holidays, I met somebody online, and we had mutual friends, and he checked out, so I agreed to let him come pick me up at my house, which I would not have done in the past. I would have met a stranger 20 miles from here. Well, maybe not that far, but you know what I mean. So anyway, he comes over, and long story short, he had a record, not the music kind, the police kind, and he had been saved, and he became a pastor. So I thought, you know what, this could be the man for me. High hopes. He picks me up, we go out to eat, and he was nervous. I was not horribly nervous. I don't know. As I have worked on my healing, I'm discovering things about myself. I thought I was an introvert. I don't think I am. I don't think I'm an extrovert either, but I'm not introverted like I used to be, and I'm more witty than I used to be, and sometimes I don't have a filter and I say silly things without thinking. Like, for instance, that second relationship that I mentioned a minute ago, apparently I told him to shut up. And I said it in jest and barely remembered it, and he got all bent out of shape. And I went to my kids, I said, did I really tell him to shut up? And they're like, yeah, he kept interrupting one of us. And you told him to shut up. I'm like, oh, okay, well that makes sense because my kids always come first. And I would definitely stick up for him. And the child he interrupted, everybody interrupts this kid. And I told him to shut up. So anyway, I go on this other date, and he just was obnoxious. And as he's driving, he would say something he thought was witty, and he'd start to laugh, and then he'd slug me like that. And he must have hit me a dozen times from my house to the restaurant, and I was not impressed. But I thought, well, he's nervous, I'll give him a chance. And this friend of mine had said he was probably fine, but she did tell me to pray about it. So anyway, we go into the restaurant, we prayed, or he said the prayer, so that's like a huge plus. And start talking, we eat, he was very personable, nice to the waitress, and we were probably there about 3 hours. Come back to my house, and he did not hit me on the way home. So I thought, okay, he was nervous, I'm going to just let that slide. So all in all, it was a decent time. But over the course of the next week, I got COVID, and I got sick really bad. And I had invited him over for our Hanukkah celebration on 2 different days. I was having part of the family on one day and the whole family on the next day. Well, COVID hit me, and I had to cancel. I was in a lot of pain. I had a high temperature. I did not even get out of bed. This was on a Wednesday. So I canceled, and excuse me, I should have moved that. Still got the COVID cough. Interestingly, I don't have my allergy cough like I used to. Anyway, so a few days later, he's like, you changed on Wednesday. You're a hypocrite. Or that might not have been his exact words, but that's basically what he was saying. I'm like, whoa, I was really, really sick on Wednesday. I don't even know that I would remember everything I said on Wednesday. My temperature was so high. So I decided to pray about it. This is like a Friday, but it's like the following Friday, I think. I've lost track of time. So many days have gone by. And I pray about it, and I sent him a message. I said, this just isn't going to work. So he sends me this super long sermon, putting me down, saying I misread him, that when he called me honey and baby, he didn't mean anything by it, and that he wasn't looking for a relationship. When the fact was, before we even went out, he told me he didn't want to waste time dating, not saying he was going to marry me or whoever he went out with, but that he wanted to determine that relatively quickly. So when I see red flags and I know it's not going to work, I told him there's no sense in wasting time. He's like, well, we could be friends. I'm like, no. There's so many red flags, and I didn't even want to get into them because it wasn't worth it, because I don't even want a friendship with him. But there were a whole lot of concerns. So anyway, I was still in the middle of COVID, still feeling really sick. And when he sent me that message, at the end of it, he said that I was probably going to block him. Well, I'm only a 4th Italian, but I might as well be 100% because nobody tells me what to do. So I didn't block him, even though that was my plan. Well, when I started to feel a little bit better, some of the things he said was really eating at me. So I sent him a message, and he saw it right away. It was just like 3 or 4 lines. Said I was sorry for the misunderstanding, and it just wasn't going to work. And yes, he did say he wanted to determine quickly whether or not this was worth pursuing, and it wasn't worth pursuing, so why stay friends? So anyway, I don't remember. That was the gist of it. Those aren't the exact words. So anyway, he sees it right away, and he starts responding. Well, I went and did other stuff on Facebook, came back a few minutes later, and he's still responding. You know those 3 little dots that go up and down at the end of, or at the bottom of your screen, and it makes like a clicking sound? What was doing that? A few minutes later, he's still responding. Half an hour later, he is still responding. And I'm thinking, you know what? I do not want to keep a conversation going back and forth. And I know me, I'm going to want to defend myself when somebody attacks me. So I blocked him. I don't know what happened to his message, if in the middle of it he was shut out from it, or if he was able to continue typing it and then realized, but I blocked him. I had to do that for my mental sanity or mental health. Anyway, I can see that I am losing my codependency. I am going to celebrate recovery, and that helps a lot, but I missed a lot also because of COVID. And watched a lot of videos, done a lot of praying. I am more diligent about my Bible reading than I've been in a long time. I let a relationship get in the way of that. And I'm not blaming the other person. It was me. I was devoting all my extra time to him. And it was taking from God, and it was taking from my children. So I'm trying to get back to where I was like 2 years ago. So I'm getting better, and the devil keeps sending me these crazy people, I guess as a test, because it used to be I would have gone out with anybody, and I would have given anybody a pretty lengthy chance because they're God's child, and God loves them as much as they love me, and maybe I have something in me where I can help them in their hurts. But over the last couple of months, I've realized, no, we are all at a different walk, but I'm a queen. I'm a child of the living God, and I'm a queen. And I deserve a king, and my king needs to be a little bit more elevated than me. It can't be somebody who I have to teach and train. It has to be somebody who I submit to and support, but there's also got to be equal submission. I'm not going to even get into that here. So, I'm staying in Celebrate Recovery. I missed a lot, and I can't wait to go back because the fellowship with other believers, of people who the focus is fixing yourself, has been very, very helpful to me. So that's really where I've been. Sick and working on my codependency and definitely getting better. When I see my ex-fiance, sometimes it tears me up, sometimes it doesn't, but all in all, I am dealing with it better. I miss him horribly, but I think I'm getting over him, and now it's more where this being alone is hard. But being alone by yourself is way, way easier than being alone when you're with somebody, because my marriage of over 30 years, I was alone that whole marriage. And I mean, there were a couple points where he started to take the reins of leadership in the family, but it was very short-lived. And what fell on my back during then was difficult. So now, even though I don't have someone else to help me make decisions, and I've still got kids living here, one who's still a minor, and I've got nobody to help me with that. Well, let me rephrase that. I have friends who I can go to, of course, and who will pray with me, but I have nobody who's invested in it like me, so that part's still difficult. But I'm just learning to let go and let God and make him my husband, not in the worldly sense, but you know what I mean. So that's where I am. I will try to be back more frequently and talk about more things that pertain to everybody, not just codependents and people who have fallen in love with narcissists and borderlines and just basic weirdos. Actually, no, I didn't fall in love with any basic weirdos. I saw those signs. So that's where I'm at. Hope y'all had a good holiday, and I hope you have a blessed new year. Shalom.